Senate Bill 1325, having received a constitutional majority, I declare it passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled.
This is the reaction of rage, hurt, and anger.
This is what started it all. Tennessee representatives passing a bill that will soon allow teachers to carry guns in schools across the state. And chaos erupted.
And it wasn't just, a motion of like, oh, we want to be loud. There was mothers in there crying.
So Jermaine Cole Jr. organized a protest. Dozens of people screaming and chanting just inches away from the House floor.
Power to the people!
And they acted out a die-in, laying on the ground in silence to get their point across.
Giving teachers pistols in classrooms. My little brother is 10 years old. I don't want him anywhere close to a gun. I'm a college student myself. I don't want to be near a gun.
But the protest didn't end inside.
What happens when my teacher had a rough morning or rough night before class? What happens when a student gets too rowdy? What happens when a student finds the gun? I've been doing active shooter drills since kindergarten. I'm a junior in high school and I still have them. My first lockdown was in kindergarten. My last one was September 13th, 2023.
High school students took over Legislative Plaza crying out to state leaders.
I shouldn't have to be told to zigzag in the hallway because it's harder to hit a moving target. I shouldn't have to text my parents for the last time saying I'm scared. This is a school shooter. It shouldn't have to be my teacher.
And through those tears, students say they'll continue to fight.
And we will vote you out if you don't listen, because we want to be safe in our schools, and I promise that—
I am so sick and tired of the anti-gun lobby using kids as pawns to manipulate people's emotions to get them to make irrational decisions about gun control. Like, how is this any different than Mao's Red Guard, where he used the misguided youth as his pawns to push his agenda and ended up killing millions of people?
But more importantly, a craze for Mao, especially among the group that Mao wanted to influence the most, China's youth. Millions of Chinese youth organized into the fanatical Red Guards, a paramilitary force concentrated mostly in Chinese cities. And with Mao's blessing, they wreaked havoc in the name of cultural revolution. Their mission was to destroy the four olds.
Old culture, old ideology, old customs, old traditions. All of the olds must be destroyed.
The idea was basically to tear down the vestiges of imperial China and rewrite history centered around Mao Zedong, renaming buildings and streets, destroying cultural sites, and violently humiliating and often torturing and murdering anyone they accused of opposing Mao's ideas, which they plastered all over the cities and carried in their pockets in the form of Mao's Little Red Book, a collection of his sayings and principles.
Make no mistake, this has nothing to do with school shootings, but has everything to do with banning guns. And I know I sound conspiratorial, but look what they're doing. You'd have thought they passed a law saying all criminals can have guns now. No, they're saying you have blood on your hands because you passed a law that gives teachers the ability to protect their students if a mass shooter shows up. But the anti-gun lobby doesn't want teachers being able to protect their students because the moment a story comes out that a teacher actually stopped a mass shooting with their firearm, their entire argument is completely done. That's why they don't want teachers to have guns. Keep in mind, these are the same people who say they want background checks and mandatory training and psychological evaluations before you can carry a gun. And every single thing that they claim they want is required before any of these teachers can carry a gun in this bill. And they're still not happy because they know these gun control laws are bull. It's all bull. We said, let's put metal detectors in the schools to protect the kids. They said, no, we don't want our schools to look like prisons. We said, okay, let's have armed guards at the school. And they said, no, we don't want our armed guards to be at the front of the school and have our schools look like prisons. We said, okay, let's have bulletproof doors and windows. And they said, no, we don't want them. Just ban the guns, because that's what they want. And they use school shootings and the fear it evokes in overly emotional kids to push their agenda to ban guns in the country. School shootings aren't even that frequent, but because the mainstream media is largely in the pockets of the anti-gun lobby, they push the narrative that school shootings are a US norm. But as an article from the Mises Institute points out, it's not true. However, given that school shootings are so rare that in the United States in 2021, there was one school shooting death for every 23 million Americans. By comparison, approximately 1 in 350 50,000 Americans drown each year. If one is going to be terrified of the dangers one's children face, obsessing over school shootings is a rather odd thing to focus on. Our children are far, far more likely to be killed in an automobile accident than in a school shooting. Note, however, that no one in Washington is talking about highway deaths. Why is this? The reason for the laser-like focus on the extremely rare phenomenon, however, is easy enough to explain. Many people genuinely believe, wrongly, that children live in the shadow of school shootings. For gun control advocates, that's all for the best, since this false narrative can be used to push more legislation. You know what else they're not talking about? Is how the kids of political officials are protected when they're in school. You think when he was in office, President Obama's kids weren't surrounded by guns when they were in school? You think the kids of high-ranking political officials don't go to school where they have metal detectors and armed guards? So it's okay to protect the elite's kids with guns, but when it comes to everyone else's kids, nah, just let the school shooter have free reign in the school to shoot anyone they want. This bill requires everything that the anti-gun lobby claims they want as a requirement before you can get and carry a gun. And still, it is not enough for them. So what makes you think that if they get their way on a federal level, they will stop? They won't stop, because their goal is to ban guns, not regulate them, but ban them. And they're using your kids to do it. Guns aren't political. That's why I need your help getting this message to spread on YouTube by clicking the thumbs up button, leaving a comment to let me know what you think of the video, then subscribing to the channel. But most importantly, click that bell symbol. For products featured in this video, click the links in the description.